because perfect pitch is genetic, that we will get to the point of being able to predict voices accurately from the genome. Faces were a little bit better. We recently published a paper on this. In the report that we give to people in their genomes, it starts with their predicted height, predicted weight, predicted BMI, eye color, hair color, and skin tone, and their face. So the 3D photos are not
Okay, I want you to see. So the picture that you see there that says subject is the computer image that was created just from their DNA. And then on the other side, they're going to show you the actual image of the person who had provided their DNA. I want you to pay attention to this very carefully.
Very attractive photos. They bring out all the flaws in people's face. We smooth them a little bit. It helps with the algorithm. Even though we predict eye color and eye shape right now, we don't include that in the predictions. But this is the prediction just from this woman's genetic code from the machine learning algorithm. Now, keep in mind, this is just the face mask. If you look at somebody next to you, you don't see just their face mask. You see whether they have hair or not, the color of their hair, their eye color, shape of their head, etc. We're adding the shape of the skull from MRI images, and I think that will help. People actually have ears, so we're going to be adding ears again from MRI. Here's another example of a young male, and here's the computer prediction just from his genome. A lot of this is based on ethnicity, so when there's mixed ethnicity, it actually makes it a lot easier. So here's the prediction from this young African American. It's getting better. 1,000 is a very small data set for machine learning. And so we're adding to it over time. People can accurately usually identify themselves. The predictions come out to your age just post-puberty. So they won't look like what you do now. Other people can identify roughly 1 out of 10. When we get to 100, they start to look a lot more similar, particularly if they're all Caucasians. So the data set was very mixed, and so we're improving on this all the time, but it proves that we can generate a photo. We can identify individuals, a combination from their HLA antigens and all the other predictive factors plus the face. So we want to expand the number of people that we have for our database because that's the most important thing. And so we've started what we call the HNX, and this is a specialized version of the health nucleus that will have 2 Siemens MRI machines and a CT, a cardiac CT scanner. The basic version will include just the genome sequence and the comprehensive suite of all the things you've seen. To expand the number of people that we have for our database, because that's the most important thing. And so we've started what we call the HNX, and this is a specialized version of the health nucleus that will have 2 Siemens MRI machines and a CT, a cardiac CT scanner. The basic version will include just the genome sequence and the comprehensive suite of all the things you've seen from the MRI imaging. There's an intermediate or gold level that will add for people over 30 cardiac CT scans and some extensive blood work and some metabolome work.
So let me tell you why this is here. So this is the price that you can get so you can get your DNA and the computer. Basically what you do is you go there, you pay for this, you give your DNA, and then the computer will say, this is how you look based on your DNA and how you are now. Based on your DNA without these factors, this is how you should look. And this is what you can get sick of. This is for people to be able to see things. Now, I want to take you back in time to where there was communism in the USSR. So they actually were pretty happy at the beginning. And the reason that they were happy was because they all had jobs. From a very young age, the government would pick what area of study you would go in. So they would usually find children and see which ones looked like they had the body shape. And they knew this from science because our technology is a lot more ahead than what is allowed in the public eye. So this is why they had the best ballerinas, the best runners, the best pole vaulters, the best everything, because they would use your genetics to put you in the right job you should have and compete and do. So if you came from a lineage of this based on your DNA, and you're going to be like, wait a minute, Tori, we're talking like, mid last century. Yeah, this technology existed. You just didn't know about it. Here is where now it's coming to the public. These are tools that communist governments use. This is why in China, certain people advance faster and do things. This is why they have their best athletes, their best computer people, the best this, because they target them from a young age. If you have long fingers, they will recruit you to be a pianist. If I'm just saying, very layman here. This is how they identify. Now a computer does it for them. It will also say how you may die and how they need to insure you. Insurance companies can take this and decide what insurance you can get. Now, this is if it's in the wrong hands, it can get to that point. This is where, all of this comes in. This is where the control comes in. And I am making you aware because this will be coming up soon. I mean, we see that, Elon, who I write a letter to every year asking for a Tesla, still hasn't responded, of course. I mean, it would be just a write-off for him, right? He's competing now to print out these things in predictive analytics. Think about it. There are benefits on the fact that, hey, you have a device at home, you pop your finger in, it takes your blood, analyzes it, sends it off. And then the doctor's like, all right, print this medicine, sends you the file, you click, and then the chemicals, just put them together, or you have to buy some chemicals, or they send you some chemicals if you don't have them. And in this little thing, you just get the medicine you need. Boom, done. In like seconds, you're done. And this is to increase
AIDS. This virus is not from nature. This is based on the China Military Institute discovered and owned some bad coronavirus named ZC45 and ZXC21. Based on that, after lab modification, becomes a novel virus.
So, sorry, Dr. Dr. Jan, if I may interrupt just a second, just to be clear, you're saying we've all been told, we've all heard about these wet markets and the seafood market, and there were claims certainly from the beginning that this is where it started. You genuinely, in your scientific beliefs, you don't believe that's where it came from at all?
No, I have my intelligence from the CDCs in China, from the local doctors, from doctors and other people around China. So also based on my evidence, I work on vaccine and also virology, immunology in the University of Hong Kong. All these things get
damage to ourselves. Very, very poor results with that. Also, we could be patented and owned. That's not a joke either, right? And then there's the other technology involved. I don't know how much you want me to get involved with the other technology.
Yeah, I think that's great right there, a good start, because one of the things I thought about when you mentioned this the first time was the issue of what we see with GMOs and stuff. We've seen it with the soybeans. We've seen them patent their soybeans, and then through cross-pollination, they're getting on other farmers' lands. And then the farmers are pretty much, they be first place. They want to control us. And this thing that you've talked about changing out parts of our DNA, this is something Bill Gates has spoke about too. And the idea is, I guess you can kind of sympathize with some of the technology being used for whatever people think would be good. Hey, we're going to try to alleviate this. We're going to try to fix that and this, that, and the other. But always it ends up in the wrong hands of people who will do evil and wicked things with it. And I think it's very concerning when you start, like what you said, messing with the code that we have within us, that God has given us as our creator. And we start doing that. What do we expect to happen from that? Even the vaccines themselves, they contain carcinogens, those things that cause cancer, right? They have that anyway, right?
That is correct. You know, so you were correct in saying that this is the same technology being used for genetically modified organism. It is transfection. There's different ways to do it, but all of the ways that these companies are suggesting to introduce this into our body is all methods of transfection. Therefore, they are proposing to make us genetically modified. When they're saying they're not, they're absolutely lying. That we are even allowing companies to lie to us and then go forward and still utilize them. How unethical is that?
Thank you, Dr. Yan. I want to thank you. The great broadcast we have is about to be taken down. Last thing, Europe's in a new surge or a new wave. It's starting to come back here in the United States. In your mind, is the CCP virus going to continue to get worse until we get into the lab and find out what's going on, or what do you think happens? Is there going to be more mutations?
Finally, I want to say mutation always exists because it's the nature of the coronavirus. The second thing is China government and even Dr. Fauci already warned you there will be worse situation happen. Trust me, from the intelligence and how I know the government, I know that means they try to warn the world. If you don't listen to Chinese Communist Party, they will spread more other type of lethal passage. It can be coronavirus, or it can be other type of things, can be high lethal or high contagious, whatever. If you still want to face to this kind of high risk, you can wait to WHO and some other corrupted scientists come to do so-called investigation in China and make their deal. If not, listen to the truth, that is take down the Chinese Communist Party, and then everything can be solved after a while.
Take down the CCP. Dr. Yan, thank you very much. One of the great heroes. She came to America as a defector to tell